Hi, Dan.
Hello, Mr. Sonnenfeld.
Barry.
Hello, Barry. One of the things that I thought was interesting in watching the movie again is that when I look at what the Addamses eat, it looks appetizing compared to what you described in.
Well, you know what? Those are probably recipes my mother would have come up with if she had lived in that household. Yeah, no, that's very funny because we had squiggling, live tentacles and stuff like that that Granny made. I think she says start with the eyes or something like that. That's very funny. Yeah, I grew up entirely on Swanson TV dinners. So the Addams Family, I think, had it better off than I did.
Yes, but at the same time, I can tell you that you're a longtime fan of Addams's cartoons because one of the principles he followed, whether he articulated it or not, is that you never see the horrific things happening. You always see before or after. You never see the act. And I noticed, like, when you'd see swords drawn or stuff like that, you would see Wednesday about to do something nasty, and then you cut away.
Right. I'm not big on violence. You'll never see a blood splatter in any movie I've ever worked on. If someone gets shot, I'm not the guy that shows brains on the wall behind him. The other thing that I sort of learned from Charles Addams's drawings is he let the audience find the joke. There's no like insert or punchline, or sometimes you have to look at some of those drawings for 20, 30 seconds until you find out where the joke is. And so I literally love that about his comedy. And it's something I try to do in my direction is I like things playing out in wider shots and not cutting to close-ups for the punchline. I literally stole some of his drawings and put them in Addams Family. That opening shot of the Addams Family dropping, the cauldron of hot oil on the carolers was a Charles Addams drawing. Fester choosing between arsenic and the other poison in the foreground is another example of a Charles Addams drawing. So in fact, I created the teaser for the Addams Family, the first movie, which is a woman screaming in a movie theater, and everyone in the movie theater turned to see what's so hideous. And that was a drawing from a Charles Addams book. I think My Crowd, I think it's in that one. Yeah.
Well, and another thing is, why do you think that the Addams Family can get away with pouring a hot cauldron on carolers?
Because we made sure that the carolers all kind of felt like Hitler Youth. They're all blonde and perky and happy and cheerful. I only cast open-faced blonde people, So, people always, the reviewers as a joke would say, Addams Family, the most dysfunctional family ever. And I always thought it was the most functional family. The husband and wife loved each other. The parents gave unconditional love to their children no matter what they were doing. I mean, you read my book. I wish I grew up in that environment,
Oh yeah, and that's, I think, one of the part of the secret sauce. And also, to maybe give your own family some credit, do you think you would have gotten into lighting and later cinematography if your father hadn't been selling lights?
No, and I wouldn't have gotten into cinematography and then directing if my father hadn't said, don't find a career, find something that will bring you joy and you'll figure out a way to make a living doing it. Don't look to and I also never moved my way up. I bought a used camera so I could call myself a cameraman. And then I meet Joe Cohen at a party. He's going to shoot a trailer for Blood Simple. I say, I own a camera. He says, you're hired. So I never moved my way up in the industry. I just became a cameraman, and also, I think growing up with those Charles Addams cartoons in the New Yorker magazine did teach me very early on to love that visual style of playing out the joke in a wide shot and making the audience do some work to figure out where the comedy is. I love that about his drawings.
Because one of the things I saw in this retake is you have the shades opening, and if you're not looking on the left-hand corner of the screen, you will not see the flower wilting in the sunlight.
That's right. And I will not cut to an insert of it wilting in the sunlight because I want the audience to find those moments, you know?
Yeah, or they might miss you inside a train.
That's true. They might. I look like I'm heading to my bar mitzvah in that photo, in that image. But again, stolen directly from a Charles Addams cartoon. And what we're referring to is that great moment where Gomez is playing with his train set, his H.O. Gage train set, or Lionel's, and we cut inside one of the passenger compartments, and there I am with Gomez's face going by in the background. Totally Charles Addams drawing in one of his New Yorker drawings.
Well, also, I thought in the days of analog filming, it must have been a nightmare to get Thing to work because today they'd probably just CGI him, but to me, having a good actor's disembodied hand is so much more expressive.
I'll tell you the story of casting Thing. I thought it would be interesting to cast a magician to play Thing because I could then ask a magician to like roll a quarter, you know, between his knuckles, or, you know, I could play with the magician because they're so dexterous with their hands. And I interviewed a lot of magicians, including Chris Hart, who eventually became Thing. And I realized how wrong I was because the problem was they're all about you not seeing their hands because they have to move quickly and disguise. So they never could slow down. So I said, oh God, this magician idea wouldn't work. So then I said, I never thought in my life I would say this, and I know it's a huge mistake, but let's bring in some mimes to cast. And I said, but if any mime comes in and is either walking against the wind or can't get out of the glass box, I'm going to cut the interview off right away. So the mimes come in, and I realize there's no way I can work with a mime for the next, 12 weeks. It ended up probably being 20 weeks. So I said, let's bring back some of the magicians. And I brought back Chris Hart, who is fantastic. And he played Thing. So what we did is we created a prosthetic little additional wrist for his hand, right? And then he would be all in black, and we would race him down the corridor, or oftentimes we'd like cut a hole in a table. So I would say 90% of what you're seeing is Chris Hart in the scene, and then we would just shoot an empty plate so we could erase Chris Hart. But most of that stuff is in camera. There's maybe 4 or 5 shots where we had to rely on any sort of serious CGI at all, and it was terrible. Almost everything is real.
Yeah, well, one last thing I want to ask you is, let's face it, a couple of weeks ago, another Addams Family movie came out. Why do you think there is still a market for them, say there isn't for the Katzenjammer Kids?
I think that the Addams Family humor is unique. It's dark, but it's also very loving. It's not dark and mean-spirited. It's not dark and violent. And it's also, we love this family because they can be, what parents let their kids play with guillotines and take turns electrocuting each other, or playing William Tell with the apple, but Pugsley's apple is in his mouth. So I think people love the humor, the darkness of it, but also in a weird way, the sweetness of it as well.
Because that's a really tricky balancing act to pull off. I mean, you did a gangster movie in Hollywood, which I thought, wow, that's a real delicate balance act.
It's the single job of a director. The only job a director has is answering questions. And it's through answering thousands of questions a week that you create tone. And what a director has to do is be the arbiter of consistency of tone. I'll give you an example. Hancock, I thought the first 2/3 of Hancock were really funny, great movie. I was really jealous I didn't direct it. It tonally was dark but funny. And then the third act becomes a different movie. And I think the audience said, wait, that's not the movie I paid money to see. Now it's really dark and green and violent. So my job is just consistency of tone. And that's what I love doing. And I think I pull it off more often than I don't.
Well, certainly your long career on television indicates you know what you're doing.
Thanks.
Well, listen, thank you very much for your time. The Addams stuff, I wish I had more time to tell you how much I gush over it too. But thank you for making that, and which I think is even better, Addams Family Values. And good luck with whatever you do next.
Thanks. I will say I think that Addams Family Values is funnier, but that Addams Family is more romantic. So check it out.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Thanks, Dan.